Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled Quantum Healing with Sherri Divband. You can find her work at intuitivewellnesscenter.com and also at divinelyguidedchildren.com, and finally here on YouTube at Sherri Divband. Sherri, welcome back to the show.
Oh, welcome back. Thank you so much for having me, Jean-Claude. I love being on your show.
I love when you're on the show, so thank you for coming on the show. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. We're going to have an extra terrestrial conversation here today. For the most part, we're going to talk about some different concepts today. We're excited to have this conversation with you. And I want to let you know also that we have some special announcement we'll keep for the end of the show here. We have a very special episode coming out in November. So Sherri and I will keep that surprise for you guys here at the end of the show. But first, Sherri, let's get into... Oh, which one do I want to get into first? We're going to go back here. Well, okay, so you and I have been debating, how do we call this? The new, let's just say new Earth for now. We are creating a new Earth right now, and I think our focus as humans needs to come together and to figure out what we don't want, what we want, and then the steps to get there, as opposed to maybe falling over each other and reinitiating old programs of divisions and left-right paradigms and all these things. So we're at this critical point now where we kind of see the light, we kind of see that the doors are open and that perhaps there were no doors to begin with. And now we get to maybe run with the ball here. But before we do that, we kind of have to figure out what it is we want. So with that being said, I'll give you some room here to start building this narrative and conversation here for the audience.
I don't even know where to start. The reason I wanted to bring up this topic, Jean-Claude, is because, and everybody watching, hello, is because as many of you know, and those of you who are seeing me for the first time, I do about 15 or so sessions a week on people of all ages. Half of them are children, but the other half are adults and even elderly. And my focus is helping people through the ascension, heal their karma, contract, cell memory, just, help us through this whole 3D to 5D transitional period, and helping people really understand this evolutionary process, what it means, and how to heal through it. And so through my sessions, I get access to a lot of spiritual beings, which I am so honored, because a lot of people channel certain beings from certain places, like, some channel the Pleiadians, and some channel, I can't talk tonight. Some channel the Andromedans, some channel the Syrians. And I feel super honored, because when I'm working with somebody, depending on where their soul group is or their soul family is, I get to communicate with the beings from that star system or that planet. So I usually get such a large array of guidance and messages for not only for the person I'm working with, but a lot of the times there really are messages for humanity. And when I'm talking to the person in my session, they're like, wow, Sherri, this is something you can say on your interviews. And everyone knows me now. They're like, are you going to talk about this on your next interview? And I'm like, yeah, probably. But I have to say that some of the themes that I've been getting this for over a year now. And you guys have heard me talk about this over and over, is that the guidance that I have been receiving is that everybody watching needs to focus on their own healing right now. Heal yourself. Go within. Stop looking for a prophet or a guru or a savior, because they don't exist. We all are our own gurus, and I'm trying to help people find that space within themselves so that they can truly embrace that part of themselves, to empower them. So that's been a huge part of my focus. It's what my books have been about. It's what my classes are about. All of that is to empower people to get their own the access to their own information, to their higher self, and to their soul family, their spirit family, their angels, whomever they believe in, to be around them, even if they don't know that they're there. So I would say in the last couple of months, I've been getting these messages over and over that we need to stop wanting. A lot of us are focusing so much on information that's coming out about certain dates. This is going to happen on this date, and this person really isn't in charge of the country, and this person actually is. I'm speaking in code, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. And
no, I have no idea. What are you talking about? Sorry, keep going. I'm just putting love in it.
And what I have been told repeatedly in different ways is that there is so much going on behind the scenes that people need to stop focusing their attention in one direction and understand and recognize that there are so many things happening multidimensionally that we aren't even aware of, that we don't understand completely or fully grasp what the new earth looks like, and that's why I'm constantly coming on and saying, instead of watching these, focus your attention on what you want the new world to look like. What do you want for the children? What do you want for the medical system? What do you want for the governing system and those sorts of things? And I've talked about the Lemurian way and how we are gravitating or navigating towards those principles once again in a lot of aspects of life. But they keep encouraging us that we have to stop focusing on the old system. Just like the school system, I say, is breaking down and it's not going to look the same. And I'm very much focused on the education and our children. But I have glimpses of the other systems through my sessions. Those I work with a lot of doctors and nurses and technicians and all sorts of things. And I see that the system in that avenue of medicine is breaking down. So we're never going to go back to that old system. We're never going to go back to the old education system. We're never going to go back to the old political system. So people need to stop focusing their attention on a certain person going back into a certain role that is no longer going to exist. It's going to look differently. Now, I'm sure people are asking me right now, okay, Sherri, well, what's it going to look like? I don't know the answer to that. But what I can tell you is that it's not going to look the same as it is right now, because we are going into a time period that will set the trajectory or the tone for our future and our children's future and their future, where I have seen glimpses of it, so I can sort of understand what it looks like. And I see pockets, I see communities popping up, and I feel that they're very independent of each other. So there is no opportunity for this power structure anymore, because we have these independent communities all over the world. Let's think about it as, to simplify it, instead of communities, let's think about it as the states in America. So let's say California is independent of Arizona, and Arizona is independent of Maryland, because we're all doing our own thing, but it's under the guise or the structure that we place forward that is in the best and highest interest of humanity. So let's call it the worldwide. Now we're expanding to the world, because this is a worldwide operation. So this is what's happening right now, and where we're moving towards affects the entire world. It's not just North America. Every country is going through this breakdown right now. And so if you can imagine in the background, we are not just moving in the direction of fixing the North America, right? It's every country, every system has to rebuild. So there's a lot of planning involved, and it doesn't happen overnight. And I do believe wholeheartedly and with certainty that Mr. T, let's say, has done an incredible amount to get us to a certain point. But I believe that he was told, or chose, or both, to step back, because we have to let the rest of the movie play out, and we have to allow for the humanity to get upset enough to say, you know what, I'm done with this. I will not allow my children to be this, and I will not allow them to tell me what I can do with my child in school. I will not go and take these medications anymore. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. We have to get upset, but not upset in a way that it lowers our vibration, but upset in a way that it motivates us to make some sort of a change.
Towards empowerment and stepping into our own power.
Exactly, our sovereignty.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to teach people for the last 10 years, is to claim your power. Empower yourself by taking your healing into your own hands. Research, try different modalities. If one doesn't work, don't give up. Try something else. That's why there are so many. One of the biggest lessons I learned when I was learning Reiki forever ago is, I said, why are there, I was, naive. Why are there so many different things? Why is there 5,000 different types of energy healing? Why is there sound healing? Why are there tuning forks? Why is there shamanic healing? Why are there so many different things? Can't you just choose one? And I was told by a very wise person, Sherri, one thing is not going to work for everybody. So everybody needs to have the opportunity to try what works for them. And I think that's what is happening right now. We are being provided the opportunity to design what we want our future to look like. And it may not look the same to everybody, but the idea is that if we can come up with a system that works in alignment or in resonance with what is the highest good of the majority of the people, and as we step into a higher frequency, we will align more with what's in the highest good of each other. So we will be blending our visions together, because we will be matching vibration. Our frequencies will be matching, and so we will have clearer visions of really truly what's best for ourselves, for our children, for the earth, for the plants, for the animals, all of those things. So yes, there are certain people that have played a very pivotal role in getting us to a certain point. And yes, those people, I'm talking in code again, are definitely in the background still doing things. But right now it's our turn to step up and show and manifest what it is that we want, so that we don't sit back on our couch watching our Netflix and just waiting for things to happen for us. And that's what I have been told repeatedly, even more so lately in my sessions, because I think people aren't understanding it, or they're not fully grasping it. And instead of really thinking about it from a different perspective, they're getting angry and they're projecting because they don't see things happening exactly how they think that they should. Why should we follow a date? Does anybody logically think, watching this right now, that if somebody, a big person, a big name, throws out a date and gets us all excited, do you actually think they're going to tell us what their next move is going to be and when they're going to do it? To me, like, that never made sense to me. Why would they tell everybody, it doesn't make sense?
On the contrary, it would make sense for them to tell you the wrong date, so to destabilize the enemy. So I totally agree with you. I've been saying this for months.
There's a lot of distraction going on right now, and I encourage people, please go within and raise your vibration. Eat good food. Reduce the sugar, if not all of the sugar in your diet. Surround yourself with people that align with and are in resonance of your beliefs right now. Do not be afraid to separate yourself from those people in your life that are pulling you down in vibration. Reconnect with nature as much as possible. There are so many things that people can do to raise their vibration, and then perhaps they will notice that their thoughts will shift a little bit, and they will be in more alignment with, okay, let's shift my perspective, and maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's something better happening that looks completely different than what we're seeing right now. I also think that person I'm speaking about will play some sort of role in the future. But again, I don't see it looking anything like it is right now and how it has been previously for over 100 years or longer, because that system has to break down, because otherwise we're going to be in the same position 1 year, 5 year, 10 years down the line. And I have been told, as we go into this Aquarian age, everything is going to look different. And in order to do that, we fully have to shift and change everything that we have been doing. And that is very uncomfortable, especially for adults, because we get so stuck in our way that we have to do things. And my parents did it this way. And my grandparents and my great grandparents, and it's always been done this way. And that's what's wrong. And we have to shift ourselves out of that. And it's uncomfortable and it feels weird and we don't really know what it's going to look like. But it's certainly better than this. And I have seen so many positive things. And I can give you other examples as we go. We have our list to kind of align with what I'm saying. But I just wanted to start there tonight. You know me, I don't speak politics. I don't get involved in the nitpicky aspects of it. So I don't want to go into the details. But overall, if we pretend we're all eagles right now and we fly really up high and we look down and shift our perspective to more of a broad outlook of, okay, hold on a second. Do we really want the system to go back to the old way with that other leader and everything is going to be fine? I don't think so. I really don't think people would want that.
I totally agree with you. And again, first of all, thank you for saying that too. Thank you for having this conversation. I've been trying to have this conversation. I've had it quite a few times on my channel. And it appears that every time I have the conversation, the comments get better and better. At first, it was a little bit touch and go, and I understand why. Because for a lot of people, not just in the audience here, but for a lot of people on the planet, they've just now woken up to the Ponzi scheme or the fake reality they thought was reality. And as they woke up, they quickly constructed a new reality so that they could, walk and be functional on a daily basis. I get that. But that new reality that they stitched together in an emergency was based of all the things you just said, the different speakers, the dates, the fog of war that we find ourselves in. And so that too needs to be redressed, because here's the point. When you stitch that, new reality together to replace the one that you just realized was fake, you didn't really have time to think, and you restitch that based on the experiences that you've had in this life. And if you step back and you realize, oh my God, all our systems, our institutions, all of this was not organic. This is not who we are as humans. This was imposed on us. And so now we're restitching a new reality, and we don't realize that the framework with which we're stitching this new reality is also rigged. So this is why we have to step back and have a conversation and say, wait. Oh, okay, go all the way back and say, what does it look like to have a human organic experience? And then once you have an idea of that, or a feeling as to what that feels like, then we can say, okay, here's the reality we want to stitch together. And that, man, is a conversation worth having, especially with the people here in the chat, the people who come to these shows. Like, for example, Elizabeth says, hey, I don't want a guru, but I do enjoy Jean-Claude's channel. I'm no guru by any means, but I am a galactic DJ, if you want to call it that, because I'm mixing all of these energies together and showing you other possibilities, showing myself other possibilities by having you here and interactive in these live chats to what it is to have an organic human experience void of the manipulation that we've had throughout our existence. And I think that is also why sometimes we get in trouble, because we're trying to maybe scatter this community to not have that conversation, to entrap us again in perhaps these new systems. And that's why I don't like the word system. And you and I were debating before the show, well, how do we call this? Because it's not a system. A system implies that it can be gamed, controlled, siphoned. And this is all the things that were in the past. And I agree with you. As we move into the age of Aquarius, the knowledge bearer, we become the knowledge bearer, right? And in order to get there, we need to do a whole lot of learning really fast. And for that, we need to think about those things that have been manipulating the way that we've learned throughout our existence, so that we don't get into the same traps again of realizing that perhaps we're just in another box. We're replacing one box with another box. That's exactly what we don't want. Okay, so big thank you, Sherry, on that. Let's get into, I brought this up the other day with Janine. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen. This ties in a little bit here into the spiritual war that you and I have been talking about. It ties into all the walk-ins. We'll get to that here in a second. But this was a report from Michael Sala and Elena Danon, who through one of their contacts, Thorhan, he's a Pleiadian contact, I believe, and he was saying that the Galactic Federation had just recently captured some elite or leadership tall grays here, and that would have a huge impact here on humanity moving forward. First, can you speak to that? I know you saw the video, and also bring in the components of the sessions you're doing now and the ETs and friendlies and maybe archangels that are coming through these sessions and what they're telling you that might corroborate what's just happening now in our realm.
Yeah, good question. And I just actually happened to see that the other afternoon. I wouldn't have normally, not that I wouldn't have normally watched it. I wouldn't normally have taken the time, but something, I don't know, I was called to watch it. And it's interesting because you're asking me about it. So in my sessions, you know, both, and it's interesting because a lot of my sessions with children are the ones that I'm getting a lot of this information from recently about when I'm communicating with their, you know, their guide, soul guide from, soul family member from a certain place, Alpha Centauri, Sirius, and who else was recently? Not Andromeda.
You mentioned the Halo group from Series B also? Maybe we can get into that later?
Something completely, no, that's something,
okay.
Oh, Venusian, that's
okay.
it. So I've had a lot of Venusian children are coming in, which we can talk about a little bit more later. But those were the big ones. And what they were showing me is that because these children are here as part of the New Earth, I was going to say system, and I was like, nope, it's not a system. It's part of the New Earth, right? As what we're moving into. And I've been told, and people have heard me like a broken record. I say they're here to anchor us in to a higher frequency. I've used that word in my book, and that's the word they keep telling me. And so in those sessions, I'm being told in different ways, but very similarly, is that these, and the reason why, let me just rewind. The reason why I'm seeing this is because the children are the ones that have been attacked the most psychically. We can go back all the way to the 80s, and I don't want to get into that topic because I think I've spoken about it enough times about SIDS and the ways that children were being attacked because the dark ones, the powers that were here, could see their lights coming in, and they knew they were targeted, and so they were taken out, unfortunately, but they've come back in. And so as a result of that, right now a lot of the children have been psychically attacked. I talk about that with my daughter all the time. Since she was 1.5, she's had night terrors and can't be by herself, and really when she was 2. And a lot of the sessions I'm talking to the parents, and they're saying my daughter or my son all night is crying. They're seeing the things with red eyes, and the examples I could go on forever. Mm-hmm. And when I'm told, when I connect with their either their guardian angel or their galactic guide or whomever, soul member, family member, they're telling me, listen, yes, they have been targeted for quite some time, but what you need to understand is that there are groups, both galactic and astral, physical humans here that are part of the astral spiritual warrior group that are ushering these beings off the planet, or they are being pulled off the planet, or they are being killed or they're being killed. And they were showing me this pivotal marking point. Again, December keeps popping up. I reluctantly brought this up on Carly and Julia's show recently, where I said there's something happening in December. And I'm getting so many marker points in December from different sessions where I'm being told that's when they will be off planet. I think it was that interview. And a lot of things I'm seeing in sessions, December, by December, right before
Whoa,
December.
hold on. You said, hold on a second. You just said that they will be off planet. Who's they in that sentence?
The dark ones that are attacking the children, the dark beings, the evil ones. We already know that the main ones are gone. I think most people have heard that from many different sources. We know that the big ones are gone. But all the minions and all of the lower vibrational energy beings that are just literally frantically looking for hosts right now, which you and I have talked about months ago in other shows where I brought that up, where the children are seeing them going through walls and frantically looking for hosts. But I've been told by December that they will be gone. Most of, if not all, will be gone. And that's why in December there's a lot happening, because we will be in a high enough frequency that they will not be able to come back in. And so in other sessions, what I'm being told is that the galactic kind of what if you want to call it the Galactic Federation or whomever, there are actually a lot out there protecting us right now and guiding us and helping us. They're not saving us, but they are assisting us. And they are making sure that they don't come back. They are protecting us outside of the Earth system. And so when I saw that interview, or that what Michael Sala was talking about, that Elena Denon had received information from Thorhan that they had captured those grays, and how pivotal it was because of their hive mentality and how they're able to communicate, and they're trying to see if they can get to the source, or what is it called? The queen, or I can't remember the term that they use. And it made a lot of sense to me based on some of the things that I have been getting in sessions. When you put it all together, I'm like, that must be what they were talking about. This must be what they're talking about. And so a lot of things, just the other day, I was watching a video of Alex Coulier, and he said that there are 4 moves left. And I said, it was another validation for me, because if I'm getting this information in my sessions, where I'm being told for the children's session that the dark ones are almost gone, the children will be free. And I'm seeing a lot of other things that I talked about in Carly and Julia's show about kind of what's happening in December and how things are shifting and things are going to look a lot more different. And 2022 will be about a year of really, truly rebuilding. You know, when I talk, sometimes people email me and they're saying, Sherri, you're talking about all these different communities popping up over the world, some being very earthy and in nature and community, like almost like a commune. And then you're talking about civilization or areas that will be very modern with flying cars. Yes, yeah, like that's not going to happen like next year. Okay, so this is where we are headed. If we look into the future, this is what I am seeing down the line. How long it takes to get there, I don't know the answer to that. I think that we're going to be helped out with a lot of modern tech, or I hate to use the word modern, a lot of technology that has been hidden from us, that we have had access to for a very long time, but me, you, and people watching this have not had access to. But once we have access to those things can escalate much more quickly. But to go back to your original question, because I think I just went in a lot of different directions there, so hopefully I didn't lose any of you guys. Based on what I'm seeing in my sessions with the children and the adults and the galactic beings that I am communicating with, they're all saying the same thing. The war has been won. It's time to clean up. I've heard several times now we're at the point of no return. Everything is aligning. They're just saying it differently, if that makes sense. I don't hear you.
Hold on, my dog was making noise. I put myself on mute. Okay, it does make sense. And something you just said also just triggered me, because I haven't seen the last video here from Alex Collier. You just mentioned that they had 4 moves left. Are you in a position to recap what those 4 moves are for the audience, so they kind of understand here what Alex was alluding to?
Well, I don't. So he did an interview with Danny. she's going to kill me that I can't think of her last name. Elena Denon, Megan Rose, Danny Henderson, and him did a round table very recently. And within that round table, he talked about that. But I don't believe he went into specifics. He just said that Morane told him the good news. There are only 4 moves left, and this will be over. And again, let me tell you another one. I've been getting December for a while now. I spoke about this weeks ago on the other show. Yes, that one. Mm-hmm. And he said that likely by December, December will likely be the point in which this is all over. So again, there's December again. So there are other people now coming out and starting to talk about that. But he did not say exactly what the 4 moves are. And you know what? Even if he did know, I doubt he'd be telling us, because we don't want to tip off the other side what those 4 moves are, what they have left to do. But I'm highly suspicious it's about clean up. I keep getting the clean up and getting the rest of the world on board with whatever the word we want to use.
New Earth
to look like. I just, you know what I think it is, JC? It has and I don't want to lose anybody with this, but you know how the Jasara Nasara has, I want to say, and I can't remember, like 22 underlining principles, something like that. I can't remember what they're calling it, but it's basically, it's like the Constitution, but in a new method, where it's peace among the people around the world that everybody needs to follow in order to keep the peace on the planet. And I believe it has to do that is what they are working on creating, some sort of a peaceful. Have to be very careful with our words. Let's just say peaceful protocols or lists, for lack of a better term right now. And I apologize, I can't come up with something better. Again, I'm not over there working on this, so I don't. They probably have names for it, but it's a list of things that we need to call that humanity will follow or abide by. And it has to do with compassion and empathy and kindness and equality, all of these things within this new structure, this new Earth that we're creating. And that's what I feel like is part of the moves that they're working on, along with getting disclosure. Let's just say that, along with disclosure.
Right. And again, to me, that word organic comes in to describe all the words you were saying, that real human experience, void of that manipulation and all of those programs, which we fall under. Lisa, yes, another show for me. Busy guy this week. There's a big production schedule. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Dana says, will you please leave the link to the roundtable she mentioned? Okay, so it's this one here. Let me bring that down for you guys. Yeah, let me bring this one down. And also, guys, if you're new to this material, it was deleted on my last channel, but I believe you can still find them on my Rumble. I did a 3-part interview, book review with Elena Denon. This was her first book, A Gift from the Stars, Alien Races. I haven't yet read the second book, but I'm about to do that now, and hopefully I can get her back to talk about the second book. But if you haven't seen that, go check that out. I believe on my Rumble, they're still there. They might also be on simulcast on her channel. This was a couple of months ago. So anyways, it'll give you a good idea and some language to have this conversation here about the Galactic Federations and who maybe those players are. And I think in part 3, we got into the hierarchy, or if you want to call it the org chart of who all of these groups are that have basically a role to play here with humanity. And I thought that was very fascinating. And she said that she was going to include that in her next book. So I'm looking forward to reading that and sharing that with you guys as well. Because again, it ties in also to all the data that Sherry is getting here through the work that she's doing with her clients. It's very fascinating. Okay. So let's talk about this ET war that we find ourselves in here too. So these 4 moves, I get we can't get into that, but what's your feeling now in terms of maybe the walk-ins you're seeing with your work? Can you tie that in, and perhaps how some of those are the archetypes of the actual warrior, but some of those are also the archetypes of the teachers coming in here to kind of help humanity, guide them into figuring out what it is they want to create for this new Earth. Let's dive into that here a little bit.
Yeah, gosh, we could talk about this for a whole hour, but I'll try to simplify it. I have seen more walk-ins in my clients than I've ever seen before. It used to be more of a rare occurrence, and Dolores Cannon, I think, was maybe one of the first people to talk about walk-ins. It was more of like a very rare occurrence, kind of, and it had to do with, somebody really wanted out, and perhaps they were going to commit suicide. They weren't going to finish out their life mission, and their life mission happened to be very important. They had to do it because it would have affected so many other people down the line, whether it's generational or what have you. So they would have a walk-in come through if that soul was really ready to check out. But if you fast forward to 2012, I'm sorry, not even 2012. Let's push it back to like the early 2000s, and then 2012 and after, and more so even now. These walk-ins are coming through because for a lot of reasons. Let's touch upon the children first. So I found out through my sessions that a lot of the children, the newer children coming in, these are very evolved beings, oftentimes 7th to 9th density. These children's frequency is so high in the 800s, 900s, that these parents are not able to carry them. Sometimes they have miscarriages. They have so many issues, and because of the frequency that's trying to come in, and the third dimensional, the mom that's been in the third dimension for so long, their body can't withstand the frequency of these children coming through. So a lot of the newer parents right now have had a lot of trouble with being pregnant, a lot of issues. And that's a lot of the reasons why, a lot of the times why. And so what I was told is that these ascended masters, these evolved beings from a lot of different places, don't want to be a child. They just don't. They don't want to be in a physical body. Perhaps this is even their first time on Earth, and they are really coming in at the 11th hour. They really are truly coming in at the 11th hour, which is also why I can say with certainty, many of the times, I know we've already won, because I know they wouldn't allow all these beings to come in, or those beings would not come in if it wasn't time yet. And so they come in, but they don't want to be children. So let's say we have a volunteer soul that will come through, and they'll be the baby. They will be, they'll live to be, or they will get to the point where maybe they're 2 years old, or 4 years old, even 6 years old. And then the being that's the true soul that's going to come through, that has that life mission, whatever it is, whether it's a teacher, a leader, a guide, somebody that's going to bring in technology from their planet, whatever their role is, that's very important. They decide when they're ready to come through, the other soul goes out and the new one comes in. And there's a variety of ways that this can happen. One of which is if the child has some sort of planned anesthetic event. Say they need to have their tonsils removed. Or some sort of surgical event where they go under some sort of anesthesia. Or the second one is if they, when they go to sleep and then they wake up and the transition has been made. And I've been told that is the purpose of that, is that they do not want to waste their time being children, babies, because it's very hard. It's really hard for babies. No wonder they cry all the time, because they are high, they can't talk, they can't move, they can't do anything, but their intelligence is there. Yeah. Imagine being where we are now, and then all of a sudden we're in a little baby. A little baby's body. We can't tell anybody what we want. We can't move around. We can't do what we want to do. We'd be crying a lot too. And also their little bodies are trying to figure out how to be bodies, how to digest the food. And it's uncomfortable. And there's a growing pains. And so they don't want to experience that. So they have somebody else that will volunteer to come in, and then they come in. So that's happening on a large scale right now, more than I've ever seen before. And anybody watching this, most of the parents know. So if your child is exactly the same and they've never changed, chances are your child is not one of them. But if at some point you notice a drastic change in your child, they're just completely different. They act different. Maybe they're a little bit more cuddly than when they were before, or maybe suddenly they don't like the things that they liked before, but it's usually a pretty drastic change. So you're going to have some sort of something's different, a feeling of that. The other group are adults, and there's a variety of reasons for walk-ins for adults. One of which is that the soul is not here for the ascension, and they are one of those that says, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this. I want to go home. I don't want to be. It's too much. And so these ascended masters or these evolved beings will say, okay, there's a signal that goes out. I mean, remember, we're all connected. So people sometimes overthink all of these things. We're all connected energetically. So if you can imagine, and I'll say it again, like I've said before, we all have the life force energy, the cord that goes above our head, and it goes up. And then imagine this large interweb of energy, the quantum field, where everybody is connected. Everybody, each and every one of us are connected energetically. So we truly are brothers and sisters. We're all family. And so this signal goes out and says, okay, this soul is ready to come out. We need a walk-in to come in, because remember, we're all hands on deck right now. We can't afford for souls to just dip out. Sometimes we need these evolved beings to come in and play that role, or follow out that role that person was going to fulfill. Perhaps they were going to be, they're a doctor, and we needed them to shift into a more holistic pathway. So there's a lot of different reasons. Perhaps it was a mother that had contracted to have 3 new earth children, and she didn't want to be here. So suddenly, you see that there's generally a reason for these walk-ins to come through. I'm
curious. Have you seen in your work recently adult walk-ins?
Yeah.
Like people who just changed recently in an adult life, as opposed to maybe as a toddler.
Yeah.
I can just imagine that experience when you have a wife or a husband or whatever. Like, could you imagine? And you have kids, and your kids are like, "Mommy, who are you?" Yeah. Do you want to share any of those experiences, or are you at liberty to maybe share one?
Of course, I wouldn't give anybody's name or specific information, but it's generally along the lines of, it's the other person recognizing that the other person is different, a spouse, a sister, or the child. And they say, this person is markedly different. And they're asking me, thinking they have an entity attachment. That's what they come to me for. Sherry, I think my husband has an entity attachment. He's completely different. Something's wrong. He's not acting the same. Come to find out, no, he's a walk-in. And then when I tell them, you think that they would freak out. But then they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And they start thinking about things, and around the time, and they're like, you're right. And I've never had anybody freak out and say, you're crazy, Sherry, this doesn't align, this doesn't resonate. Because then deep down inside, they're like,
they knew it.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Or I'll tell them, and they thought, I've had 2 people, they test me. They thought it, but they didn't say anything. And then I mentioned it to them, and they're like, I knew it. I didn't want to say anything, but I knew it. And I said, it's just part of the plan. This is how it has to be right now. And they're okay with it. They really are.
I had a walk-in on my show last year. Her name was Aurora, and I believe her experience was she walked in around the age of 18, and she had quite a bit of trouble adjusting because she had to relearn everything, how to do math, to eat and walk and talk and all that stuff. It was a fascinating story. Very, very intelligent person. It was interesting because she was bringing multidimensional concepts to the audience through her art. And so a lot of people were dismissing it. Oh, it's just artwork, but they failed to see the deeper meaning of what she was actually showing through the artwork. So, I'm curious with the walk-ins that you're dealing with too. What's their modality? Are they speaking these new terms? Are they just holding the frequency and they're emitting a frequency and thus changing the people just by holding these frequencies? Like, how are they transmitting the walk-ins that you're seeing now, this information here to the 3D Earth organic humans around them?
So both ways. So one of which is their high frequency. Because remember, every single person on the planet, their light, your light, everybody watching this, your light is important, because that one of the biggest things that was frustrating to me is when I would have clients come to me and say, Sherry, I'm just one person. What can I do? I'm just one little person. What am I going to do to contribute to the earth? And I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea what you can contribute. Your light is so important. Everybody's light is important. And so that's why, was it on your show? I was talking about how I was shown by another group of, I think it was Alpha Centauri, and I can't remember, but they were showing children coming in as comets of light. Right now they're coming in and the walk-ins, they're coming in like comets of light. So they are here to hold the frequency. They come in a higher frequency, and they are holding the light for us. And so that is the main reason. The other reason is they're coming in to bring forward or bring the wisdom that they have to contribute. So perhaps they are healers, perhaps they are teachers, perhaps they are going to be some sort of a spiritual teacher. So they're bringing forth something. It's significant. They're not just coming in as a placeholder to just stand there. They have something to contribute in a positive way.
Very specific mission. Yeah, they're mission oriented for sure.
Yeah, they wouldn't be allowed in if they weren't.
Right.
But not everybody is walking, so I don't want people to get confused.
Yeah. So there's a difference between, yes, you're a soul and you walked into this body, or you were dropped into this body from someplace else. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about midway through the race, changing the occupant of this physical body. That's what Sherri's talking about here.
And this is for good. So this is not a soul.
It's not a possession. It's not.
This is not a possession. This is soul to soul. They have made an agreement. That is all. It's for the good of humanity. And so it can be disconcerting. I think I saw someone's comment like, so do you mean that some woman's going to have a different husband spirit in their husband? Yeah, actually, yeah.
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
And some of them work it out just fine. Then others become friends, and it's up to that particular family to kind of figure out what they're going to do. But
in the story of Aurora, it was very difficult for her. Her family, for the most part, at least at the point where she had explained the story, really disconnected with her. They thought she was just, a crazy person. And so it was very difficult for Aurora to step into that body and be the person that she wanted to be, because all her friends and her family didn't recognize her anymore. So it's a fascinating story. And you have to think that these people who are choosing these missions to be walk-ins, man, these guys are brave as F, because this is not easy. Well, first of all, it's not easy to come on Earth, right? We all agree. This is one hell of a school to go through. But can you imagine as a walk-in also? Wow.
Listen, these walk-in children, I just want people to recognize or understand they are highly evolved. What this means is that they're going to be, a lot of times they're going to be one of two ways. They're going to be extremely difficult, argumentative. They won't let you teach them. They don't want to learn anything because in their mind, they already know everything. They're stubborn. They talk back. They may not want to play with other children. They look down on other children, not because they're mean, but because they're like, I want to be an adult. I have a mission. I need to focus on this. And conceptually or consciously, they are having a really hard time being a little person. And so please be patient with these children, because they are here to do a very important mission. Then we have the Venusian children that come in at the love vibration, and they are the most loving, compassionate beings. It's almost like if anybody has a child that they have heard multiple times from others, that they're like an earth angel. They touch the lives of everybody. They're just the most loving beings they've ever had in their life, in their world. And it's not just up to the parents, it's to everybody. There's a good chance that that's a Venusian child or a being that's come through. And that's another reason why I know we are online and on track for this new earth. We are in the right direction, because they would not send the Venusian children. I'm telling you. They're not going to send the Venusian children, nor will the Venusian beings come in as children if it was not safe. If the time was not right now. That means that enough of the darkness has left the planet, and we are moving to the trajectory of the higher timeline, and all of these beautiful new earth children and the Venusian children are here, and they would not come and they would not volunteer if we weren't ready yet. So I just want to wrap people's minds around that a little bit.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Let me go a little bit further here too, to maybe help some parents out if possible. Some of these children, as you just described there, the propensity to maybe talk down to other children, to not fit in with them in school, to be smarter than them, not wanting to learn, being hard-headed and all that. It appears also that some of these children are suffering from huge stresses right now, and they're trying to perhaps consolidate that role that they have versus the role of being, a teenage kid, and they're seeing and perhaps applying blame on a lot of things around them, trying to feel or to understand or reason why they're feeling so out of place. Do you see that happening also with the kids here, and perhaps maybe words of wisdom for those kids, but also for their parents who are dealing with this and trying to figure out, man, what do I do with this kid? Again, they're young adults into these bodies, so they're very smart, but at the same time, they don't maybe have the full picture yet, and they might be trying to, again, attribute blame to, oh, it's my school, or it's my teacher, or it's my sister, that's why I'm so angry all the time. But they don't understand that they can't consolidate the energies yet. They haven't fully walked into what it is their mission is, and so they're living in two very different frequencies, and it's creating huge stress upon their bodies and their psyches.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening right now. And that's probably 75% of the sessions that I'm doing right now with children is that exact thing you just spoke about. And the parents are desperate to like, what do I do with my child? Well, I can't take them out. I had to pull them out of school. And I don't have the best answer, because I said, I've been told by the children themselves, their higher self, many times, this is part of the process. It's really uncomfortable, and we need to take everybody out of their comfort zone, where there's a lot also happening multidimensionally. So they are stuck between the old system and the new, better, organic way of living that we're moving into. And they signed up for a really hard job. The hardest job right now for anybody on the planet, and you can argue with me, but this is my opinion, from my professional opinion now, from the variety of people that I work with, from infants to women and men in their 90s. So I have a vast experience with a lot of different age groups, different races, different economic status, all sorts of things. The age group right now between 15 and 30 are having the hardest time on this planet right now, because they signed up for the hardest job. They are in between. They are in between an old system, and they are supposed to be uncomfortable and recognize that it's wrong, because they need to break through, so that as we rebuild, their time will shine. So a lot of those parents that say, my son hasn't left the basement, he won't go to school, he's playing video games all day, and many other examples of similar things where they're not motivated, they don't like school, they don't want to be around friends, nothing is interesting them, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And one of which, and what I tell them is, just try to be patient, because we really are at the 11th hour. And when I work with these children, I can find out where they're from and what kind of they're here to contribute. Are they a teacher? Are they a guide? What system are they here to help contribute in a positive way? Or the architects of the new world? And suddenly when they hear that it's okay that you don't find something that you like right now, because everything is breaking down and something new will come, and you are going to help us inspire us. So when I talk to these children, whether they're 15 or 30 and everywhere in between, their eyes light up when they can just hear someone say, I understand that you are in a situation that's very uncomfortable, and you don't feel like you fit in here, and nothing is working out for you. I love you. The parents say that. Of course, I'm not going to be like, I love you. I can, but I try to say in a very compassionate, kind way, gosh, you're here to do such an important role. Thank you so much that you volunteered to come here. What is it that if you could pick anything that doesn't exist right now, what would you do if you could do anything in the world? And once they start thinking about it that way, like, really, anything I want? Yeah, what would it look like? They will have a 180, because suddenly they start recognizing, I don't have to be a lawyer. I don't have to be a doctor. I don't have to do this. I don't have to pick one of those things. No, you don't. What would you like to do? And they really start to shift and understand that it's their opportunity to create and manifest what they want the world to look like, and then do it. They are the way showers. They are the entrepreneurs. They are really here to inspire change. And the ones that are stubborn are, I tell the parents, I hear you. I have one. I have the most stubborn, difficult child probably in the entire world. Okay, so I beat all of you guys. No, just kidding. But I know she's here to make me see that the things I'm doing sometimes are wrong, and I have to admit that. And it's my programming. My husband and I were just talking about this today. Every time we say something to her, she talks back. It's wrong. No, I don't want to hear it. No. And we keep saying to her, don't talk back. And she's like, well, if I can't talk back, how can I tell you what I'm feeling? Or how can I explain? And, we had to reevaluate. We're like, God, you know what? God damn it, she's right. Like, my mom told me not to talk back, and her mom told her not to talk back and be quiet. And really what they're trying to show us is, hold on a second. Maybe you're wrong. Give me an opportunity to explain myself, and then you might think differently. And so my daughter's here to teach me that. And a lot of daughters and sons are there to teach us, because she's one of the future leaders of the world. I know it. And there are many thousands and thousands and thousands of you watching this right now that have a daughter or son like that as well. And I just want to tell you, one, I'm giving all of you a hug, and also take a deep breath, because they are really here to do something very powerful on this planet. And they're having a really hard time right now because they don't understand it fully. So really, I've been told, just instead of fighting fire with fire, have patience, give love, say I understand, and allow them to talk for themselves. And perhaps they'll surprise you with what they have to say. And
give them space.
Give them space.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And I think what you were just saying too, it's funny because on one hand, the child is frustrated with the parents, and the child is not in a position yet to understand that the parents, of course, came in earlier and they're under a whole new realm of programming, right? Yeah. And so to them, it makes no sense to them why they're being tutelaged under people who are damaged, right? For the parents, we're looking at this, we're frustrated as well, because it's like, well, my dog's gonna bark now. Gemma, you see? Okay. For the parents, we're also frustrated because, as you're saying, they're talking back, and this is not how perhaps we were educated, but we can at least step back and say, well, we can be the adults here and see the bigger picture and understand what you've just said here is a big piece of the puzzle for a lot of people to understand the bigger role in all of this. And perhaps it makes it a little bit easier for the parents, but still a tough situation all around. My dog's barking. Okay, take the mic, Sherri.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like we have about 5 minutes left. So while you're taking care of that, what I want to talk about real quick with everybody, because this is super exciting, and I haven't had a chance to talk about this on an interview yet. I had 2 fascinating sessions recently with some beautiful women. And what I was told is that there is a group called the Halo Group. And it's a group of Sirius, I think it's Sirius B. So they're from Sirius. And it's a very beautiful group of divine, feminine, evolved spiritual beings. Okay. And this group was comprised a couple hundred years ago. I could be wrong on the dates. I have to go back and look at my notes. I'm talking about the Halo Group. Okay. And the reason I'm talking about this is because this could be somebody watching this. And I was told, or I am told, that the Halo Group are volunteered ascended master females that have come to this planet within the last 100 years specifically. So a lot of these people are adults now that I'm talking about, most of which are going to be 20 and above. And they have volunteered to come into certain areas of the world, specifically Asian countries, more specifically Japan and China, maybe Korea too, and the Middle East and Russia. And these people, so those of you that are watching this, that are in the Halo Group are likely in that category of living in that side of the world. And you are placed in that side of the world because it's very masculine. It had turned to very masculine driven, very powers driven structures. And they had taken away the divine feminine, the rights of the female, for obviously reasons we know why. And so these beautiful volunteers came into this planet to play roles in these areas of the world, to be born in, to be incarnated in the physical form as females of light. Halo, I'm not kidding you. I could see a white halo of light around each single person that comes to the planet that is living right now. And their role is to bring light, divine feminine and light into the darkest areas of the world. So those people watching this, the way that you would know that you're a part of this group is that you, from the time you were a child, you realized, or you've always thought, that the culture was too strict. You didn't align with it. You didn't understand it. You wanted to get out of it. Perhaps it scared you. You didn't like it. And maybe you even moved out of those areas of the world and you have found yourself someplace else. And so this group from Sirius is a very divinely put together group of ascended masters that have come, and their contribution to the planet is to bring light and divine femininity into the darkest areas of the world. And I just discovered this group very recently, and I've met 2, and I have been told that there are thousands more. So you can see, JC, there are groups and there are people that are playing roles all over the world for different reasons, but all with the same theme, to help us evolve, to help us become sovereign beings once again, because we always have been. We've never lost anything. We've just forgotten, or we've been told that we don't have it. And we're getting that power back. And there are so many beautiful souls that have come to this planet and reincarnated many, many times to help to play their role in order to help us evolve or awaken or to shine light on the darkest areas of the planet. And so I just wanted to bring that up today because I suspect that there are many, many more out there that may hear this message and say, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. I know it's that I'm one of those people. And no, I'm not saying this because I think you need to contact me. It's just to really help you understand why you grew up in an area of the world or a family that you never aligned with. You felt like you were an outcast. You didn't align with the beliefs. It's okay. You signed up for that for a reason. And maybe you don't feel like you did that much to change. You did. Trust me. Even if you moved away, your contribution or your purpose or your journey was to shine light. Because remember, our light is very important. So if thousands of these beautiful, divine, feminine women are incarnating in China, in Russia, and in the Middle Eastern countries, even if they don't change anything on a level that humanity can see as a whole, they have changed by shifting the light and the frequency. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing. So I wanted to mention that before we ran out of time.
Very good. Thank you for that. And that was amazing. And make air go woo. He says, this message makes me want to cry. And I'm 6'3", 260 pounds. So there you go. Okay. So even grown men cry sometimes. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And I do apologize for the dog barking as I was trying to get through a difficult concept here, both for the parents' standpoint and from the children's standpoint. But I hope it came through okay for you guys and you understand that. Yes, it's difficult times for those age groups between 15 and 30. It's also very difficult for the parents who are handling this right now, and our hearts go out to all of them. And perhaps if you need some help with that, please do contact Sherri, as it is the work that she does here. And you can find her at intuitivewellnesscenter.com. The links are in the description box below. And Sherri, before we go, also give us an update on what you're doing with the children, the courses that you're giving with Janine, and anything else coming up on the radar here, including perhaps a new animated series here, version coming soon.
Yes. As far as the animated series, we have one coming out within the week. There was a little bit of a delay on the animator's end, but I think this week we'll get it out. We already have the second one lined up in production, so that should come out within 30 days after the next one. So that's really exciting. Janine, Tarot by Janine Margot is a fascinating teacher, and she is teaching a series basically every Tuesday from now until spring for 1 month at a time. She's alternating between adults and children. So right now she's finishing up tonight, actually. She's finishing up an adults tarot class. Next month, it'll be for the children, a children's tarot class. There's, I think, one space left if anybody's interested. Month after that, she'll be doing astrology for adults first, and then December's children. And we're going to keep it going, starting over with adults tarot in the spring. And I have just added a bunch of classes for the children as well. We have art classes, pendulum classes, crystal classes. I just did a Reiki class last night for children. I had a beautiful group of 5 to 11 or 13-year-olds. There's a lot. I highly recommend everybody check out the children's site on the schedule page because I'm listing new classes all the time. We just finished a dream class that was really, really fun for the children to learn about their dreams. So yeah, and then I have one space left, I believe, in my Ascension course in January. The November one is full, and I just finished one. But I have one coming up in January, and I believe there's one space left.
You are a busy person, I got to tell you. There's a lot of content there to go through. So, folks, that's divinelyguidedchildren.com and also intuitivewellnesscenter.com. Both of those links are below. And finally, you can find her work and her interviews also here at Sherri DivBand on YouTube. We are simulcasting from that channel tonight. But if you're watching from Beyond Mystic, please head on over to Sherri DivBand here and pump up these numbers. So click the like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, is mine in mine? It should be. Oh, there you go. Make sure. Sometimes YouTube, removes those. So you have to go back and make sure you've got that notification on, including for my channel. So folks, if you're watching this on Sherri's show, please come over here at Jean-Claude and Beyond Mystic 3, our third backup channel here, and join us tonight. I just got an email, and apparently I have another show that's not on my board, so I might have made a mistake. So I might be having a show here in about 10 minutes. I'll have a new show on the board. And also, of course, at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, I'm excited for this one. Tamara and Janine are coming together for an amazing show to spotlight on Australia. So a lot of things happening down under there. We are going to be using a lot of code words, of course, to try to get through some of that information, but that's at 8 o'clock Eastern. And of course, tomorrow, Janine is back also for Wednesday show, the live stream at 8 o'clock Eastern. So busy on this side of things as well. Sherri, always a pleasure to have you on. And every time I was like, an hour's not enough. So we should do this a little bit more often, or try to make it work a little bit better, because judging from the audience here, we need to have these conversations, and these people are taking our conversations and bringing it forward. And that's exactly the point of these shows. And so I think as things move forward here and we see many changes in the next couple of days and weeks, you and I are going to be tasked maybe to have more of these conversations here to hold that frequency with everyone.
Definitely.
All right. So a big thank you to you, Sherri. And of course, folks, that was Quantum Healing with Sherri Divband. I love you guys. Have a great evening. And perhaps I'll see you in a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Au revoir.